Welcome back to Awakening the Inner Avatar. Today, we step into The Swamp, an episode that looks eerie and unsettling on the surface, but inside holds some of the deepest wisdom of the entire series. The Swamp shows us visions of those we've lost. It reveals that we are more connected than we realize. And it whispers the truth. Time is an illusion, and so is death. This is a story of roots, of connection, and of remembering that we all belong to the same living tree. The episode begins not in the swamp, but in an Earth Kingdom village. Zuko and Uncle Iroh sit on the street disguised as weary travelers. To Uncle Iroh, they're blending in. To Zuko, it feels humiliating. When a man tosses them a gold coin in exchange for entertainment, Uncle Iroh plays along, singing and dancing, but the man pushes further, drawing his swords to humiliate Uncle Iroh even more. Zuko seethes with anger. It's a reminder that pride and shame can blind us to survival, and that patience sometimes is the only way through. Meanwhile, Aang, Katara, and Sokka fly high above a vast swamp. Katara and Sokka are distracted as Aang sits at the helm. Something stirs in him. The swamp seems to call to him, almost hypnotic. Sokka asks why they're drifting down. Aang answers, the swamp wants them to land. He remembers Bumi's teaching. Wait and listen. Now he hears the earth itself. But Katara, Sokka, Momo, and Appa all resist. Aang agrees to move on, but the swamp doesn't let them. A storm rises. Winds whirl, and they are torn apart. The trio on one side, Appa and Momo on another. Appa struggles, tangled in vines, while Momo tries to free him. Exhausted, Appa lies down to rest. The trio cuts their way through the swamp. Sokka slashes vines, determined to carve a path. Aang asks him to slow down. Katara whispers that the swamp feels alive, as if someone is watching them. When night falls, they camp. Strange bird-like screams echo through the dark. Sokka insists on cutting wood for a fire. Aang protests. We shouldn't harm the swamp. Even in their whispers, they know they're being watched. That night, the swamp answers. Living vines rise and grab them. They break free, but in the chaos, they are separated once again. Appa and Momo are chased by strange hunters. Katara stumbles through the swamp and sees her mother, but it's only an illusion, a stump in the mist. Sokka sees Yue, the moon spirit. She whispers, "You didn't protect me." His guilt rises like a wound reopening. Aang sees a little girl and a flying boar, always just out of reach. He chases her, drawn deeper into the swamp. The visions haunt them, pulling at grief, guilt, and longing. The swamp doesn't just hold vines, it holds memory, heart, and the echoes of what we carry inside. Aang's chase leads him back to Katara and Sokka. They compare visions. Aang believes the swamp has led them to its heart. Sokka scoffs, and right then, a giant swamp monster rises from the water, made of writhing vines. As they battle, Aang and Katara free Sokka from its grip. And then they see the monster is not a monster at all, but a man named Hugh, bending the vines like water. Aang asks if he was the one who called him here. Hugh shakes his head. No, the swamp itself is alive. He leads them to the banyan grove tree, an enormous trunk whose roots spread for miles. See, Hugh says, this whole swamp is actually just one tree spread out over miles. One big living organism, just like the world. If you listen hard enough, you can hear every living thing breathing together. We all have the same roots. We are all branches of the same tree. Katara asks about the visions. Hugh explains, the swamp shows people we've lost, but they are never truly gone. Time is an illusion, and so is death. The swamp reveals connection. Those we love, those we've lost, they live in us, through us, always. Aang realizes the girl he saw isn't from his past. She is someone he will meet in the future. By connecting through the roots of the banyan grove tree, Aang finds Appa and Momo. They free them from the hunters. The waterbenders of the swamp welcome them as kin. Sokka still resists, insisting nothing mystical happened. But the truth is already rooted inside them. The swamp has spoken. The episode closes with Zuko masked as the Blue Spirit, taking revenge on the man who humiliated Uncle Iroh. Let's take a breath. This episode invites us to pause and listen to what lies beneath the noise. The swamp teaches that all life shares the same roots. Now ask yourself, where in my life can I notice connection instead of separation? Now repeat to yourself, I am part of the great tree of life. I am never alone. The swamp shows visions of loved ones not to haunt us, but to remind us love doesn't end. Connection remains. Now ask yourself, who in my life do I think is gone, but still lives in me through love, memory, or spirit? Now repeat to yourself, love is never lost. It flows through time without end. Aang followed Bumi's teaching. Listen and wait. The swamp's calling was real. Life speaks if we are still open enough to hear. Now ask yourself, where am I being called to slow down and to listen more deeply? Now repeat to yourself, when I listen, I hear the truth beneath the noise. So we leave the swamp, haunted, humbled, but also awakened. The swamp's lesson is simple but profound. We are connected. We are rooted. And nothing is ever truly lost. May you carry this truth into your own life. Time is an illusion. Death is an illusion. And love remains the root that holds us all together. Until next time, walk gently, listen deeply, and remember, we are all branches of the same tree. This is Awakening the Inner Avatar. This podcast is a fan-created project intended for educational and spiritual reflection. All clips, references, and content related to Avatar, The Last Airbender, Star Wars, Rebels, and other media are used under fair use for commentary, analysis, and transformative discussion. All rights to original shows, characters, and music belong to their respective creators and copyright holders.